everyone. Welcome to another episode of Joey's Scarf. This is episode 10 and today is May 12th, 2017. It's a Friday and it's about noontime here in Barnegat, New Jersey. My name is Linda and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Linda Grace, and that's Linda with a Y. Today I'm recording my video in my sunroom, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little overcast today. Temperature is about around 60 degrees, but according to the weather, we're supposed to be in for a nice storm tomorrow, Saturday. We live in Barnegat, New Jersey, and that's near the Jersey Shore. So I'm just going to jump right in today and start with my finished objects. The first finished object I want to show you is a pair of socks, of course, and these are my May socks that I'm entering into the Naughty Knitwit Socket knit along. And here's the pair. The pattern is Vanilla Latte socks, and that's by Virginia Rose Jeans. I'm looking at my laptop there. I like the pattern. I did these started them on 9-inch circulars, cuff down. The yarn is by Happy Feet, Plymouth yarn, Happy Feet, and it is 90% superwash merino wool, 10% nylon, and the color is number 15 aqua violet mix. And all of this is on my project page, but I'll tell you, I like this yarn. It is very cushy, and I have made another pair with this yarn, with the Plymouth Happy Feet yarn, and I'm happy with this Happy Feet. I really am. So I like the way these came out. One interesting thing was, I don't know if you probably won't be able to see, but I can tell. As I said, I knit these on 9-inch circulars. I started at the cuff and I cast on 56 stitches. And this is an afterthought heel. So after I put in the thread for the waist yarn, I switched over to 47-inch circulars, size 0, which is also the size I used for the top with the 9-inch circs. My tension with the doing magic loop, even though the size of the needle is the same, which is size 0, the tension with the magic loop, my tension is much tighter with magic loop than with the circular needles. So for me, that's okay because I like the foot tighter. That's not really true. I'm lying here. No. I think from now on, I either go to a 00 for the 9-inch circs, because this is where I have the problem. This is where my socks sag and bag is the leg part. I think if I used either magic loop all the way so that the tension would be even, I think my socks would fit better, because I tend to have some saggy, baggy cuffs and legs, calves. But anyway, I thought that was interesting, that the tension is different. So yeah, that's the story. Okay, the next finished object I have is what I'm wearing. And this is a crocheted shawl, and it's called the Echinacea Shawl. All of this is on my project page, and I like the way this came out. The yarn is called Fairy Toes, and it's by the Dirt Fairy. I think this was a work in progress from last episode, and I finished it, and it's beautiful. I like the way it came out. Very nice. The border that I used is a different yarn, and of course I don't know what it is, so bear with me here. It is, hang on, I'm getting to it. It's Cascade 220, and it's mauve, and it's a fingering weight. But I'll put a picture of the shawl with me wearing it and what it looks like spread out. And what's special about this shawl is the yarn and the pattern were a gift from two lovely ladies. The yarn was gifted to me by Linda. Hi, Linda. And the pattern was sent to me by Peg. And they're both ladies in my our Ravelry group called Joey Scarf. Pretty. I like the way it came out. Well, that's my second finished object. Moving along, my third and final finished object is, well, first of all, let me say that we do have a group on Ravelry for the podcast, and of course the name of the group is Joey Scarf. Right now we are doing a make-along, so we can either crochet or knit. It's called Joey Scarf Cozy 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 Make-Along, and there are 3 cozies in the title because you can either make a teapot cozy, a cozy shawl, or cozy slippers or footsies. I know summer hasn't even come yet, but I'm thinking about fall. I think because it's been so cold here, we haven't really had any warm weather yet, even though it's May. So I'm still freezing most of the time, so I'm still thinking cozy. But if you would like to join us, I would really like to have you join us in that make-along. And the make-along started on May 1st, and it's going to go until August 1st, which there's plenty of time for that. So as an that's my introduction to my next finished object, which is a tea cozy. So I have my tea cozy done, and I think I'm going to probably do all 3, even though you don't have to do all 3. I'm going to do all 3. So, but this is my first one, and this is the first tea cozy I've ever made, and I like the way it came out. My flowers are a little, they're crocheted. The pattern is knit, but the flowers are crocheted, and I kind of bumbled along with these, trying to find a pattern and kind of improvising on my own. So they look kind of cute. For a first time, I think it's okay. The name of this pattern is called Blooming Teapot Cozy, and you can find that on Ravelry. It is a free Ravelry download. And what was interesting to me about this pattern is I'm going to turn this inside out. This was supposed to be the right side. This is what they were calling the right side of the tea cozy. I happen to like this side better and think that this is the nicer side. So I turned it inside out. And I like it because it's just strange to me, and maybe I wasn't reading the pattern right, because why wouldn't this be the right side? But if I look at the picture, it's definitely, they have this as the right side. but I like this side better. It has more interest to me. And I like it because it has a little ribbing here, and the top is kind of interesting looking too. So I chose to turn it inside out, and I'm happy with it. Now, the yarn I used is it's something I had in my stash, and I think it's 100% wool, and I believe it's Cascade 220. I'm going to be interested to see if this really keeps my tea warm, because that's what I have a problem with in the morning. I pour my tea, or I brew my tea in my teapot, and sometimes I forget about it, and when I go to pour it into a cup to have some, it's cold. So that's really why I was practical. I wanted to use it to keep the tea warm. So next time I'll let you know how I make out with that. But that's my next finished object, and that's my tea cozy. So actually those are the only three finished objects I have, which I think is pretty good after a couple of weeks of the last time I podcast. Before I show you my works in progress, which I have a couple works in progress, I wanted to tell you that Ross and I went to the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival this weekend, and it was a rainy and cold, and it made it a little less enjoyable, I have to say. But we did go, and I'm going to show you a little video and some pictures of that here.
Actually won't make you any custom size.
Talking into this thing for the past 7-8 minutes, and I never turned it on. Oh well.
I did of course get some things at the Sheep and Wool Festival, the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. I got some yarn, but I'm not going to show you that until I'm ready to cast on something. I am going to show you one skein of yarn though, because I have a plan for it. Okay, so this is what I got. One of the yarns I got at the Maryland Sheep and Wool, and the reason I'm showing it is because I decided I wanted to make Ross a pair of socks, and I think I've only knit him maybe one thing, and that's a scarf. He is afraid to wear wool socks. He says he thinks they're going to be too hot on his feet. I don't find that to be the case, but he said he would like to try for me to make him a pair of socks. And he picked this out. This is 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, and 10% nylon. Now, I've never knit with yak. I don't know anything about it. So it's going to be an experiment for two experiments. One, the yarn that I'm using, and two, to see if I can get the fit right for Ross's to fit on Ross's feet. That I think is going to be a little challenging. For my socks, when I started knitting socks, it took me several tries before I got the fit just the way I like it. So I'm thinking that I might try and using maybe not this yarn, but a different yarn as a trial pair for Ross. And if I get the size right, then use this yarn. But this yarn is by the Yankee Dyer yarns, and it's yankeedyer.com. That's the vendor. And this really doesn't have a color or anything like that, but oh, it's natural. Oh, look at that. natural. Now, I don't know if that means it's undyed. I think it is. I'm not sure. Probably not, because of the mixture of the two yarns, but I don't know. But we're going to try it. It feels I have to say, it feels very, very nice, and I'm excited. I can't wait to use this, but I can't wait to try and make Ross socks and see if he'll actually wear them. The other thing I did was I stopped at Signature Needle Arts, had a booth there, and the way they had it set up was you could try their needles out, which was really a good idea. So you know, they had balls of yarn set up with different needles, different size needles, circulars, fixed, straights, and you could go up to the counter and try knitting with the needles. And I decided to do that because I had heard so much about Signature needles, and I just wanted to try them. The way they sell the needles is a little different because they sell them not only in circumference size, which is your size 6, 0, you know, that kind of measurement, which is the circumference, but they also sell them in length size. So they come in either 5-inch, 6-inch, or 7-inch lengths. And that is a pretty good idea, actually, because everyone's hand is not the same size. And I tried each one of the lengths, and I found out that the 6-inch fit my hand the best. So I got the interchangeable, no, they don't call them interchangeables. They call them convertible circulars, because their cables and their needles are not interchangeable. So you buy the needle. This is a size 5, and it's 3.75 millimeter. And the cable I got is a 47-inch cable. Now, each cable, I don't know if you can see this, also has the size of the needle on it. So this cable, which is a 5.75 millimeter or a size 5, will only fit in this needle, if that makes sense to you. But the join is really smooth. Haven't tried these out yet, but I am excited and anxious to try them. And if I like them, then I will buy others, I'm sure. Not a lot, because they are a little pricey. But actually, I'm sorry, this is a size 5-inch. I thought I had gotten a 6, but no, this is a 5-inch. So I'm excited about that, and I have a little video. Ross took a little video of me trying out the Signature needles, and I'll put that in here. So now we spent 2 days there at the Maryland Sheep and Wool. We got there late Saturday. I wasn't intending on going to the festival Saturday, but we got there around 4 o'clock, and Ross, we were staying at a hotel about, I don't know, 15 minutes away from the grounds. And Ross said, well, let's just go over and see, you know, where it is and what it's all about. And that's what we did. And so I said, well, we're here, we might as well go and walk around. I think that was a big mistake, because we were tired from driving, which is about a 3.5-hour drive. And it was rainy and miserable, and I was tired and hungry, and so I was already done before, you know, by the time we left there at around 6, maybe 5:30 or 6, I was done, and the forecast for Sunday didn't look so promising either, and I said to Ross, I don't think I want to go back. But Sunday morning, woke up, and the sun was shining, and I had a whole new attitude. And we went back and spent a couple of hours there again on Sunday. I mean, it was okay. I think, like I said, I think the weather had a lot to do with the enjoyment of the experience. So that's what we did last weekend.
Yes, and how are you finding this?
Good, I'm finding it good.
Good? These come in wide and extra wide. Narrow.
Probably the middle.
You think the 5-inch fits you best? Okay. So if you like the 5-inch needle, then we can go and pick your size here, which you said you like to size 5 usually. And then these are the lengths you'd have to choose from.
So, okay, on to works in progress. I think I'm only going to show you one. I have a couple others that I'll save for next time. But this is one that I'm really enjoying doing. And I'm sure you know by now that Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade, is doing season 2 of the Shawl Society. And what that is, in case you don't know, is she, for the next 6 months, you pre-buy the patterns, and you buy 6 patterns, but she releases them once a month. So I joined. I'm excited about it. I didn't do the first one, but I'm gonna do this one. I don't know how many of the shawls I'll make, but I started the first one. And the first one is called the Fairy Hill Shawl. And it's really beautiful. Yeah, so I started. This is the yarn I chose. This yarn here. And it is Angora Online. And it is hand-dyed sock yarn, superwash merino, 75%, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina. And I don't know if you can see the colors in this. It's really nice. Golds and olive, different shades of pretty. So I started, I think I'm like 5% done. And it's coming out pretty nice. The shawl, you can put beads. She has instructions for placing bead placement. I'm not doing the beads, but I've seen some ones who have done the beads, and they're really, I mean, it really makes the shawl, but I figured the stellina will add some of the shine to it. I have never done beadwork, and I am not that comfortable yet with lace. I really have to concentrate and make sure I'm staying on track. And I think this, I'm doing the medium version, I guess. There's a large and a medium. Doing the smaller version, and even with that, you wind up with like 300 and some stitches at the end, and trying to keep track of that gets, I count each, at the end of each row to make sure that I'm on track. But that's my work in progress, and I'm sure it's gonna, I think I'll finish by the end of the month. I don't know, maybe not. But that is my work in progress. I'm working on a couple of other things. A blanket for my grandson. I haven't done too much on that, and I have to get going on that. But I figure I'm gonna probably save that for his birthday, which is in September, so I have some time to do that. But that's about it for my finished objects and my works in progress. That's what I've been doing. I do have a special acquisition that I'd like to show you. And it's special because, well, I have two. I'm going to show you this one first. I got a surprise in the mail from Patsy, another one of the ladies in my group, and in our group, I should say. And she was so nice, and she sent me this beautiful, lovely smelling soap, and it's called Hydrangea. It's Alabama Cotton. It's from the Hydrangea Soap Company. And Patsy is from Alabama, and she thought it would be nice to send me something from Alabama. And she also included a lovely note, and she told me some things about Alabama that I didn't know. And I thought that was very nice of her, so thank you, Patsy. The other special gift that I received was from Ross. Now, my birthday is in July. Ross is a catalog person. He gets hundreds of catalogs, and he loves to go through them. One of his favorite places to shop is Levenger. I don't know if you've ever heard of Levenger, but they are known for their pens, but they also are known for their leather goods, for bags and wallets. And he saw this tote, and he thought it would be something I would like, and I do. I love it. And when it came in the mail, he said to me, "Do you want to wait for July, or do you want to have this now so you can use it?" And I said, "Oh, no, I want to see what it is, you know." So he opened the package, and it's a gorgeous tote. I mean, it's huge. There's a zippered pocket inside, but what I like about it is the pockets on the outside. And it came with it didn't come, I think he bought this separately, with a little pouch. The material is canvas, I think. It's beautiful. There's some embroidery on the flowers. It's just really gorgeous. You know, and the handles and trim are leather. And the tag has my initials on it. So, thank you, Ross. I really like it. I wonder if in July I'll get another present. What do you think? So that's what came in the mail for me this time. So this is the spot in the podcast where I explain a little bit about, in case, well, first of all, I want to thank you for returning. If you're a returning viewer, I really appreciate it. It means so much to me. If you are visiting me for the first time, welcome. I would like to explain a little bit. I explain every podcast why I'm doing the podcast, and I do that because for new viewers. The name of my podcast is Joey's Scarf, and the podcast is really, the name of it is dedicated to my son Joe, who passed away 5 years ago from colon cancer. He was 36 years old. And the Joey Scarf came into play because, and I have Joey's scarf here, while Joe was going through chemo, I made him this scarf. And he got a chance to wear it, and he really liked it, and it was a comfort to me to sit and knit the scarf for him while I waited for him when he was going through chemo. So that's where the name of the podcast came from. The purpose of the podcast, in addition to talking about knitting, which I am obsessed with knitting, and the podcast is an opportunity for me to share my love for knitting and crocheting with the knitting and crocheting community. And it just gives me a lot of pleasure to do that. I feel a connection to you all because we have a special bond, don't we? We understand each other. So that's another reason for doing the podcast. But in addition to that, it gives me a chance to talk about Joe and to talk a little bit about my grief. One of the things I have found out interesting, and this is kind of an emotional thing to talk about, but since I've been doing the podcast, I think my heart is more open to let Joe in, if that makes sense to you. I think I was keeping him at bay, to tell you the truth, keeping him at arm's length, because it's just very painful to think about him sometimes. But doing this podcast and being able to share has kind of opened my heart up a little bit to let Joe in. And I know that to be true because since Joe passed away, I don't dream about it. He doesn't enter into my dreams. But since I've been doing the podcast, Joe has visited me in my dreams. I don't know. And they've been the kind of dreams that are, I'm okay, Mom, kind of dreams. So that's what this podcast has done for me. And I just want to thank you for letting me share these thoughts with you. One of the other things I share is that I have a blog that I started when Joe was diagnosed with colon cancer. And it just was a great release for me to be able to write about what was going on. And the name of my blog is Linda Grace An Hour Away, and that's Linda with a Y if you want to search for it. Since Sunday is Mother's Day in the U.S., and Mother's Day has a lot of emotion for me right now attached to it. But I wrote a little something in 2011 on Mother's Day. And I'd like to read it to you. And this is, before I start, this is a sort of a fictional piece. Sort of. She woke up one morning and the house was unusually quiet. No one was calling for her, no arguing voices, no sounds coming from the TV, no opening and closing of the refrigerator. She got up and went into the bathroom. Everything was neat and tidy, just as she had left it. As she made her way through the living room, she realized that she didn't have to watch where she was walking because there were no toys or shoes to trip over, no socks or pajamas to pick up. She could smell the coffee brewing as she headed into the kitchen. She had set the timer on the coffee maker the night before so that it would be ready for her when she woke up. She no longer had to worry about leaving something hot unattended. As she sat sipping her coffee, staring out her window, she thought about the other times. She thought about the times when all she wanted to do was to be left alone for just one day. She remembered how luxurious she thought it would feel to not have to make breakfast, lunch, or dinner for anyone. She yearned to sleep past 7 a.m. on the weekends and someday maybe even sleep as late as she wanted whenever she wanted. She thought about all of these things today. She smiled to herself as she also thought about that day. It seemed like only yesterday, that day that she was awakened by little voices outside of her bedroom door. "I think I hear her waking up," the voices whispered, little giggles saying, "She is going to be so surprised. She loves chocolate chip pancakes." "Do you think she will like our flowers?" the other voice asked. "Come on, guys, let your mom sleep. She'll be up soon," said the deeper voice. She thought about how much she missed days like those days. She remembered how, when she would call her mother, not as often as she should have, her mother would say, "It's okay, I don't mind being alone." And then later on it was, "Please let me stay in my own home. I can take care of myself." As she sat there alone with her coffee on this Mother's Day, she remembered and missed her mother. She felt very grateful for her daughter and 2 sons and their families. Her grandchildren were the light of her life now. With a twinge of sadness, she thought about how her son had been forced to understand the preciousness of time, a lesson that she had only just learned. She glanced at the clock and realized she better get moving. The kids were coming over today. How lucky she was. I think mothers of empty nester mothers will really relate to that. Or if you're a mom who has children of your own and has her busy life, and maybe we'll remember to pick up the phone and call your mom, who is sipping her coffee by herself right now. So that's it for this episode of Joey's Scarf. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. I just love having to visit with you, really. So thank you so much. But I'll see you later. Bye-bye.